bring up a topic that was recently, well, I shouldn't say recently, it's all over everywhere all the time, about the trend of going gluten-free. And I kind of wanted to talk about kind of the truth behind the trend and give you a little more information about everything. So there was recently a Nightline special with Dr. Green and Elisabeth Hasselbeck on it, talking about the gluten-free diet, and not necessarily like the fad behind it, but that was kind of how it was framed. And Elisabeth basically talked about how she shops at Whole Foods and to replace instead of restrict, and how she believes that anybody can benefit from a gluten-free diet, and told the interviewer that she was pretty confident that he would have more energy going gluten-free. Now, I love and adore Elisabeth. I've met her a couple times. She is a wonderful, wonderful person, but the way the interview was I don't want to say edited, I don't know, the way it was put together made her look pretty terrible, because then they cut to Dr. Green, who is a friend and not a colleague, but a friend of hers, and he was talking about how a gluten-free diet is totally, completely medically irrelevant to anyone who doesn't need to be on it for medical purposes, and in fact, it's not a very healthy diet for people who don't need to be on the diet. I wanted to say I am not a medical doctor. I know I say this a lot, but I just need to reinforce this. But I'm not a doctor, but these are my thoughts kind of on the gluten-free diet and what you need to consider if you are planning on going gluten-free and you don't have a medical need to do so. Many celebrities, Victoria Beckham, Gwyneth Paltrow, I think Jennifer Aniston, have credited the gluten-free diet for weight loss and a great increase of energy. So it has become fatty, but it's not a perfect diet, and it lacks kind of the full nutrients that an unrestricted diet might have. People on gluten-free diets are oftentimes very deficient in vitamin B and fiber, and have to take dietary supplements and rearrange their diet to make sure that they're actually eating a balanced diet. It's like we often forget that cars run on gas, and in the same way that if you put the incorrect gas into your car, you won't work at optimum, the optimum level, or won't work correctly. It's the same with our bodies, and we just don't realize that when we put the wrong thing in, we're not going to get the correct output. And I, made a note that we take these junk food binges for granted because we just kind of feel sick, instead of really thinking about why our bodies need vitamins and minerals to provide, correct oxygen levels and the right probiotics for digestion. So it's hard to think about our bodies like that, but it's important to do so. Also, about 90% of the wheat in this country is fortified with vitamins, minerals. I don't know what's going on. My neighbors are having some kind of party. But anyway, about 90% of the wheat in this country is fortified with vitamins and minerals, and very few gluten-free food options have been fortified to meet these kind of enhanced and enriched levels that the wheat products do. Also, as for increased energy, Elisabeth Hasselbeck swears by the fact that the gluten-free diet has given her more energy, but my friend Susan brought up to me the other night that it's more the fact that it's the chronic fatigue as a symptom of celiac disease, and then removing that, from your body, and then you have this increased energy that she thinks Elisabeth is referring to, and I think that makes a lot of sense. My energy increased exponentially, and I think it's all credited to the diet. When you're not putting poison in your body, you can fight fight things off. But where it gets a little tricky is that our bodies were never made to process a lot of things that we eat now. We were never made to eat such refined things, and as our bodies have evolved and changed over time, we still haven't evolved to a place where McDonald's is like a complete protein and food in our bodies, and our body eats it and ingests it and says this is good for you. So I don't believe we'll ever get to that point. I pray and hope we never do. So in that sense, gluten is hard to break down. It's a harder protein, and I would say people who don't have a medical need to have gluten out of their diets should still limit their consumption of gluten and other, refined foods for that matter. But I think it's kind of all things in moderation, really. Furthermore, if you cut things out of your diet, you run a very high risk of losing the enzymes to digest them when you actually reintroduce them. It's why many adults become lactose intolerant as they get older, because they stop drinking lactose and reintroduce it. They no longer have the enzymes, makes them lactose intolerant. Same thing with red meat, and gluten as well is a protein that you can stop actually producing the enzyme to break down, thus becoming gluten intolerant. And so basically I wanted to just make this all readily available to you, that if you're considering being on a gluten-free diet without a medical need, you need to have all the facts. And I definitely think there are some medical benefits to it for sure, but you absolutely have to work hard to eat a balanced diet, get the correct things that people, you know, like me on a gluten-free diet for medical reasons, have to do, and to realize that you may not be able to digest gluten again. So just like to put it all out there. Also, I will link the Nightline clip in the video, and I think that's it. I know that was a long video, but thanks so much for sticking with me. Hope everyone's doing well out there. As always, it's from have not to have in gluten-free dining.